That's how it goes. But yeah, let's talk about 9/11. Fuck this. I remember like somebody talked about the Turning Point, the new 9/11 documentary Netflix, and now that I had spare time this week because of my back injury, I decided to take a shit ton of painkillers and watch the whole series in one sitting. And I have to say, like, there was so much. There were so many things they left out, which was strange. Of course, they needed to like pace the documentary that it's like interesting and new people want to see who wasn't alive back then and didn't experience the tragedy live, like for example my generation did. But yeah, they were like, when they were talking about the NSA, for example, and the Patriotic Act, for those who don't know what the Patriotic Act is and was, it's basically a legal way of the government to spy everything without asking permission, just by a hunch. So they can track everything you write on the internet, they can listen to your phone calls live, they can listen to your phone calls afterwards. They can basically 24/7 surveillance you if they have just a hunch that you may be a terrorist. They don't even have to have the hunch, they can do that for their ex-wives or anything. And that was made by fear after 9/11. It was made by haste, and it had loopholes, for example surveilling innocent people, making their lives worse. But that wasn't the only thing. That they like brushed that off pretty quickly, the Patriotic Act, and they focused on the NSA more. But the one thing they didn't focus on the NSA was the part of Edward Snowden. Instead they had the other guy. It was this guy, Thomas Drake, who actually got sued by the Pentagon. So there was this guy, Thomas Drake, and they interviewed him. I don't understand why they didn't interview Edward Snowden, because his take on the whole Patriotic Act and the NSA and the surveillance laws and the illegal things they were doing on a daily basis would have been much greater for the documentary than the small portion they gave for the NSA and the Patriotic Act, which was one of the worst things to come out from the 9/11 attacks. So that was the first thing that really hit me. And also, like, they went over like the Pennsylvania plane crash where the passengers took over the plane back and they crash landed it in the middle of nowhere. Like they fought the terrorists, the hijackers, and won, and was able to crash the plane without it going to the White House where it was going. There was the Pentagon strike. I'm gonna come back to that one, in a short while. And there was the two towers, but they completely left out the Tower 7. If anybody who remembers anything knows that Tower 7 was one of the main anomalies in 9/11 strikes. Like Tower 7 falling down was really strange, and I think it still is, even though people have there was like a study made in 2017 that proved that Tower 7 was because of the fire dropping down from the South Tower, like Tower 2, and that was the reason Tower 7 fell down. But there's still like unanswered questions about Tower 7, so I think that was really strange that they left it out. And also Tower 7 was the one they were holding all the like materia of the budget, like deficiencies, because we have to remember that Donald Rumsfeld, the day before, went out and told everybody that they were missing 3.2 trillion of like military spending. And where was that investigation done? Was at Tower 7. And the other side is the Pentagon, which we're gonna come later on. So, and nobody asked any questions about the spending after the 9/11 strikes. Like, the 3.2 trillion was forgiven. That they didn't have like receipts. They didn't know where it went, and nobody asked questions since. So that was strange. And of course, then there's the Pentagon strike, which was like, Pentagon strike is my favorite thing to talk about. The 9/11, about the 9/11. It's not favorite because it happened. It's my favorite because it's the most unbelievable thing to happen in one of the most secure military bases, one of the most surveillanced and videoed military bases, the most secure, the fucking 360 degrees radar. They basically have their own Iron Dome in the Pentagon. And you're telling me a passenger plane flew to the fucking side of the Pentagon building? And there was no video about it. There was 3 or 4 still pictures, maybe 5, I don't remember, from a gas station a mile away from the Pentagon building. The Pentagon building has cameras all over the building. And they're on 24/7. And they didn't have any picture from the Pentagon cameras. They didn't have any video, any sound. They also record sound in the Pentagon from outside. The only still pictures were from the fucking gas station a mile away. And then there's the hole. The smart thing the Netflix series did was they didn't show the hole that much, because it's round. And there was no debris of the plane. So yeah, that's strange. Like, I don't... those 4 were my major, like, dislikes of the documentary. Then there was the fucking Bin Laden situation. Yeah. They made a big deal about killing Bin Laden, which is great. But they broke quite a few protocols in that operation. Okay, it almost failed. But they confirmed the body by video call to the other side of the world, where they had to put a soldier. They had to lay a soldier next to Bin Laden's body to show how tall he is. And the face, according to the soldiers who were there, was unrecognizable because of the bullet holes. And a person on a video call back in fucking 2011 saw, not in HD probably, that yeah, this is Bin Laden. And instead of bringing the body back to the United States for further like investigation, they fucking dumped it in the sea. I would love to have like more information about that. Why did they do that? Then there was it was actually brave that they talked about the drone strikes that the Obama administration did. Like, Obama administration, what Obama administration did worse than any other ones were the drone strikes in their own homeland soil and in Afghan and foreign soil. Like, it was just like they were shooting left and right people just from a hunch. They kill fucking civilians in their own homeland based on intel that they didn't proof check. Would I recommend that documentary for somebody who doesn't know about 9/11? Yeah. You get a great basic... You get all the like major things from the documentary. Would I recommend that to anybody who's been alive for the past 20 years? Not really. It was really buttered down. It was like... It was made to please. There were some harsh things. For example, the soldier who was crying because of like the atrocities he saw in the battlefield. The firefighters whose like colleagues were killed during the 9/11 towers falling, and the family members of the police, and there was like really sad situations. It's a sad. You don't get me wrong. It's a fucking tragedy. I was young back then. Like if I was in 6th grade, I'm 13, right? 14 years old. 2001. I was 12 years old. Sorry. Yeah, I was 12. So 12 years old when that happened, and I still remember the whole situation. I remember where I was. And I remember back in 2004 when the Iraq war started. I'm pretty sure it's 2004. It could be sooner. Well, anyway, they showed it live when the first Tomahawk missiles were strike in Iraqi soil. And we woke up in the middle of the night with my father to see the bombs drop in Iraq. So I've lived the whole 20 years from 9/11 to this point. I've seen everything, and I've studied a lot of the things 9/11 past 9/11 that happened, and why it's relevant now is because of like the situation in Afghanistan. Like the Afghan situation is worse than it's ever been. The Taliban are back in power. They fucking killed almost every single teacher and media person there. They're like already putting Sharia law back in place. They're throwing acid on women who refuse to wear burqas. So they're like really bluntly back in power. And it's never a good side if China says that they're willing to work with you. And China has said that they're willing to work with Taliban. And also Hamas is willing to work with Taliban. So that makes a strange twist for like political climate. Because the left is supporting Hamas but condemning Taliban. But Hamas is supporting Taliban and their cause, so that doesn't really pan out, right? I've got a lot of blocks in Twitter because of that. People don't want to be reminded that they are like their hypocrisy. People don't want to be pointed out that the party you're actually in favor of is supporting a terrorist group which is stoning gays in the streets, which are raping children for amusement. The Taliban leaders have like literal boy toys who are in the age of 5 to 8, like young boys who are entertainment during the day and sex slaves during the night. And at the same time, they are burning, throwing acid and stoning gay people. Somebody should point out the hypocrisy to the Taliban. And also, a side note that I thought about yesterday, now that we all know where the Taliban leaders are, let's just bomb the fuckers, right? Fuck them. I know Joe Biden probably isn't gonna do anything. He's like really clueless. He's pretending that they won in Afghanistan and everything's good in Afghanistan. I don't know why. But the rest of the world would just like in the South Park episode where like they killed the space criminal and took all the space money, and the space police came and was investigating and they had to lie about it. But then Finland said that they actually want to talk, so everybody bombed Finland. That's what needs to happen to the Taliban. The Afghan president told that the day that the United States Army leaves Afghanistan, that's the day that the threat of international terrorists comes back. And that's true.